Smash.
Hello, I'm Anjelica Huston, and I'm in Smash.
Hi, I'm Christian Borle. I am also in Smash.
Felt good. It felt good to just say it out loud.
Finally, it can be said.
It's kind of a relief.
So is there anything from the change in the first season to now into the second, because there's been a big shift in the way the show wants to go? Was there a change that you really applauded and felt this will get things back to where they should be, or where you wanted them to go? I don't know if my question makes sense.
It does. I think, here's the thing. There are lots of shows on television about cops, there's lots about doctors, there's lots about lawyers. There's only one show about Broadway, and it would make sense to focus almost entirely on that workplace. And I think this year we have redoubled our efforts to do that, quite literally by having two musicals. So that's made that easier, and I think the potential for drama within that workplace is so great anyway. It feels much more coherent and sort of true to the world that we have always been trying to portray and continue to do so.
And the things that haven't changed are things like getting to listen to Jack Davenport in or out of character talk at length about Broadway.
Yes, because I've never worked on Broadway. Apparently it's a big road in New York. That's as much as I know.
What was it like having Liza on?
Well,
Christian should actually address that question, because he had more with Liza than I certainly did. I was sort of at the opposite end of the room, but I was excited to see her.
I wasn't even in the room.
but you felt her.
I did, from
across town.
from across boroughs.
Liza Minnelli, we were all so excited. There was a palpable energy on set when she came, and she did not disappoint. She was so gracious and so on her game, and I was a little bit starstruck, and we have a lot of stars that come and go. I got to sing a duet with her, and so I can check that off my personal bucket list, and I actually only have one thing on my bucket list, and that was it. So,
Done.
good night.
Done and done.
Thank you. You know, it's this world is made up of no second chances, and television is probably the greatest purveyor of that concept. 3 and you're out. You don't produce, you're gone. But they seem to see something in this show, and so do a rabid audience. Why do you think that you were allowed to reinvent yourselves?
May I address that? First of all, it seems to me that you're maybe not as enthusiastic about the first season as I was. I thought the first season was great, and I think that certainly with these 2 members of our original cast, I felt myself to be in the clover. I'm not somebody who's done series television before, but I was incredibly impressed by the preparedness, by the professionalism, and by the talent that surrounded me. It's not something that one can take for granted. So from the outset, I was actually electrified by both Kat McPhee and Megan Hilty's vocal talents, and happily surprised by their acting ability. These 2, I mean, it goes without saying. I think there was so much good about the show. It was like a stepping stone to the second season, where we really could settle in, where we knew who we were, and settle down to improve on what I think was an excellent premise and a very good beginning.
I think that this is a focus of where the first season was kind of like the proscenium. You saw the entire thing, and now the lens is coming down a little bit closer. I don't think that you missed the mark on the first season by any stretch of the imagination. What I think is that we live in a culture where a pilot is the only opportunity you have to make a first impression, and if you don't win over an audience, you are a casualty.
I agree, but I think
But
that
luckily
we
we
won
had a-
over
we-
the
we had a
audience.
great
and
pilot.
I think we were anything but a casualty. I was personally very impressed by the work in the pilot. So I come to you totally unapologetic.
Christian, there's got to be something meta or surreal or some word I don't know about starring in
Meta real.
starring
Just
in a
coined
hit
it today.
starring in a hit show about Broadway while also starring in a hit Broadway show. That's it's been deemed meta by the panel. Can you talk a little bit about how is that a heady experience?
Well, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. I moved to New York in 1995 to try to get on Broadway and was lucky enough 10 years later to kick that door open. And to suddenly find myself on a show about that world that I love so much was its own pinch me moment. To love it so much and to have it, to have the world that I love represented so accurately and so lovingly was amazing. And then it was just a stroke of luck that I was able to be in Peter and the Starcatcher just as we were wrapping up that first season. It was all dumb luck, and it was a dream come true. So I'm so happy to be back.
Are you privy to any of the talk about Peter becoming a movie?
I think I'm not, because I think that movie is going to be based primarily on the book. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be more of an action adventure thing that I think has little to do with what we did with the play.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Since this does revolve around theater, I'm just curious if you guys have figured out a way to deal with the nervous energy before you go on and perform. Is there a trick you've learned so you don't to kind of conquer the butterflies before getting on the stage?
It's called rehearsal.
And beta blockers.
Yes.
No, I have sweaty palms right now, so there's that aspect of it. But it's the phrase is fake it till you make it. So you just pretend that you're not scared to death, and then eventually you are not.
Angelica, I want to go off topic just a little bit. I know you've been very passionate about the environment for a while. I'm wondering, as you look back, how do you think Hollywood's doing in terms of fulfilling your personal will about how we should, work on the environment?
Well, it's an ongoing thing. I'm happy to say that I'm PETA's Person of the Year this year, and that makes me personally proud. I don't think enough work can be done on the environment. Obviously, we've all heard the words global warming, and they're not going away until we do something about it, and I think that should be a number one political issue. I was sorry not to hear about it in the debates. But hopefully our president will find himself in an easier forum these next 4 years, because I think it's vital for all of us.
What's the last thing you saw that impressed you in that arena?
In terms of global warming,
Yeah.
I'm not very impressed so far. I think the response to Hurricane Sandy by Governor Christie was extremely exciting, and the fact that there is room for a union and an understanding between our political parties, I think is as exemplified by his friendliness and his approach to President Obama this year is, I think, very encouraging, and I'd like to see more unity between the Republican and the Democratic parties, as I think with the rest of the country.
Angelica, I remember we had the opportunity to speak at Pritzy's honor. We did a one-on-one.
That's a while ago.
Just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, we haven't changed at all. It's really
No,
miraculous.
I haven't. I remember you saying you were your own harshest critic. I remember that distinctly. Do you still take the same attitude towards your work as you did then, that it's never good enough until it's the best?
Yeah, I'm pretty brutal on myself, as Jack will attest.
Unnecessarily so. But
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on myself, but unless I'm hard on myself, I don't know who else is gonna be, really.
And do you look at dailies? Do you critique your work?
Well, fortunately, we're not really given our dailies to critique on Smash, but when they're there, I do look at them.
And what do you learn?
Camera angles, things that don't work for me. I learn more about what doesn't work for me than what does.
Well,
Amen.
thank you.
That's
I'm
the
afraid our
director's
time
eye.
is,
Thank you very much.
but
Thank
y'all
you.
very
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks